This podcast was created as part of Podcast Lab by Indian Film Project in association with Anchor by Spotify. Two roads diverged in the wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We have all read the poem The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, and while we all dream of walking on our own less traveled roads, we often shy away from choosing our paths when we think about our society and the world we live in. Welcome to the first episode of Not So Boxed, a podcast that brings forth stories of individuals just like you and me who have chosen to stand out of their expected boxes and walk on a road less traveled by in order to truly become themselves. Hi, this is Sudeksha Sahai, your host and companion on this journey of celebrating individuality and embracing ourselves. Today, I have someone very special with me, and I'm super grateful that I can begin the season with him. I have always found myself feeling empowered, happy, and invincible in their company. I personally feel that it is his musician's heart that brings out his welcoming smile. But we will have to wait to see if that's actually true. Today, we have an extremely talented and one of India's finest jazz and fusion flautist, Rajeev Raja, who is also the founder of India's first sonic branding agency, Brandmusiq, which helps brands create sonic identities for themselves. Having started his journey in the world of advertising, he was the national creative director of DDB Mudra, and he has followed his love for music all his life. He has played with leading names of music industry like Shankar Mahadevan, Faisal Qureshi, Salim Suleiman, and Tawfiq Qureshi. And this is something that I feel makes him stand out of the box, apart from a zillion things. So, shall we begin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I have this one question that I really want to ask is what was your childhood dream?
Childhood. Okay. My childhood dream actually was to play for India in cricket.
And how did that change?
Yeah, so, school was honestly all about cricket. I never really discovered music in school. The usual. I was in the school choir. I was supposed to be an A singer, which means like a note, basically. So, but cricket was my passion, and I was playing for the school team. I was an opening batsman, and then I got into college. I got into St. Joseph's in Bangalore, St. Joseph's Arts and Science, which had a very good cricket team. In my first year of pre-university, I was actually chosen to play for the college senior team, which means all the guys who were doing the BA, yeah, the senior guys, and it was a really serious team because there were some guys already in college who were knocking on the doors of Ranji Trophy and all that. And I was already, the state selectors had already, given me a nod, and there was a chance that I would play for state schools. So that was my ambition, really. And what happened was a quirk of fate. A lot of people would say it was quite a devastating thing to happen to. I was 17 years old, and I actually one day I was standing fielding in the slips, and I dived for a catch, and I felt this excruciating pain in my back. So I went to the doctor, and they did all the X-rays, everything. They said you got a very bad back problem. So there's some deterioration of the disc, and at the age of 17, can you imagine? And I had to give up cricket for 2 years. And it was at the crucial stage of my career. And who knows, maybe that's the plan God had for me, in the sense that so I couldn't go to the cricket field any longer. So what do you do in your college? You get this freedom where it's not like school. You have to go to attend every period, right?
Yes.
In every class, so
It's more free.
it's freer. So I used to get a lot of free time, and I was also very interested in the arts and in music theater I was in the cultural society, college, etc., etc. So I used to take my little mouth organ and just play a bit, in just for fun in my free time, and I could pick up tunes by ear, and so it was a combination of some uh, Hindi music songs. Those days it wasn't really known as Bollywood, right? The classic, whether it's Kishore Kumar songs or something like that, and a little, of course, English music. I used to play things like Sunday morning, up with the lark, stuff like that, and. Then a friend, actually, a guy who I never met, came up to me with a guitar and he said, "Hey man, let's jam." So then he taught me the blues and he taught me the, little bit about jazz. And then he actually gave me a 2 rupee bamboo flute. And he said, "Why don't you play something on this?" And then I found I could just actually play it. First of all, in flute, just getting the sound itself is a nightmare for a lot of people. For me, I just got it, and I could play notes, I could play tunes. So the two of us, we became the rage in college campuses. Next 5 years, if any competition we entered in college camps all over the country, we went right from BITS Pilani to IIT Madras to all over. We won competitions all over India, and everybody said, "Rajiv and Roshan, man, forget it. The first place is gone. Now we'll try for the."
Yes.
So we introduced jazz in campus. Actually, jazz really wasn't a known thing. This I'm talking of in the 80s, right? So. Yeah, so that's really where music began. We started a band. We had a fantastic jazz rock band in college, and that's how So you asked me about my childhood dream. My childhood dream, God had other plans, and I discovered music, and I've never looked back. After that.
Yes. So the reason why I actually asked you about your childhood dream was because I feel like, I don't know, I'm still like in this process of exploring and understanding if my theory is right. But I generally feel that the first dream that we have is, it comes from a very innocent space where we don't know the world, we don't know the challenges that that can count as boundaries or something that will hinder us. And it's only like, so your first dream is something that comes with the purest, what you actually like probably
Right.
wanted the first, and gradually as you grow, as you hear in your surroundings, things change, and then we start picking up things which we feel are more practical, more suitable, that will make us feel safe and secure. So that's how I asked. But yes, destiny and God always has their own plans.
Yeah. Of course, look, there is a moment actually. Uh, so the thing is, childhood dreams may change. Okay, other dreams may come in its place. It is important to pursue the dream. So the point is, it doesn't matter whether the dream happens in childhood, because circumstances, things can change. While you're a child, you may say, "I want to become a pilot," but then as you grow older, that may not be the passion that still holds you, right? You may discover. Yeah, but you must be aware of your dreams. You must not be scared to dream. You must not be scared to change your dream also, because there's no point just holding on to a dream if you find that uh, you're not no longer passionate about it, or that particular field or something, right? And isn't that the struggle of all our lives, to find that purpose, in a sense, find that dream?
Yes.
And especially at your age, all of your generation, that's, I think, the biggest challenge, as it was for us. But for us, we were living in a much simpler world,
Okay, so say even if we talk about your time when you were pursuing cricket or music also, what was that one thing that you that made you feel like this is what you were supposed to do? Like how we always say, this is your purpose, this is your calling. But I feel like we are always so like there's so much distraction. I mean, at least for our generation, I feel like there's so much distraction. There's so many possibilities. So it's always confusing to understand like what is it that you really are meant to do or purpose. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You're absolutely right. It's not. That is really one difference between our generation and yours, in the sense that for us, life was simpler. Options were less, right? So you could either become an engineer, doctor, lawyer, or you could remain an art student like me, without with everybody saying, "Ah, yeah, no future here." He's an art student, right? So, but I would say that today for y'all it's much more complicated because there are so many options, and one way to recognize a passion for me, I was lucky in the sense that it was at a stage of my career, or my life, not my career, stage of my life, which was relatively footloose and fancy free, right? It was those 5 years of college that I discovered music, right? So while I had my studies going, yes, I did fairly well also in studies, but it was a natural period of freedom, being a free spirit, exploring life, So I could actually just get into music uh, so deeply that literally, even during my college days, I would say that I used to play the flute around 8 hours a day,
Wow.
day in, day out, for around 5 years. And I mean, that kind of passion, then you just know that for me, it became like an addiction, in the sense, a good addiction. That I had to play the flute. So I had to play the flute, and that 5 years, the whole of my life was around music, and more music. Going, playing shows, performing, going and listening to senior musicians, going and listening to great, Carnatic concerts during Ram Navami. They used to have free concerts all over Bangalore city. So one would just go in the evening from 7 to 11. The concerts would go on till midnight, past midnight. Every evening we used to go during that Ram Navami period. We'd listen to Carnatic music. Or it's great jazz bands used to come down, and we used to go and listen to all these bands, etc., etc., and then of course perform. So music became a sort of obsession. Now the the real conflict happened when once I left college, right? So that I'll come to that story, but to answer your question, I think you will know it when you find it. You will know, but the thing is, as life is, you cannot life cannot be predicted, right? Yes. So some people know earlier, some people get to know later, but the whole purpose of life is to constantly seek that, because that is really true happiness. When you find what, there is no longer conflict. The ideal situation is when your work and your passion come together, and you're earning money from it. Yes, what more can you hope for? So, this is why I was so happy when I got you, like when you said yes, agreed to do the interview, was because I'm like, for this, especially like how I started with the road not taken. We always think of two roads. Either you pursue something that you really like, or you go on the traditional path. But correct. I have seen you actually merging both these roads, and that is truly fascinating. Especially with Brandmusiq, with where you're bringing music and branding together. So absolutely, please tell me more about that and how you went on that journey. Yeah. So before coming to Brandmusiq, I I was telling you about how I was so immersed in music in college. Now, we came from a very simple middle class family, right? So it was very clear at the end of my college, my father very clearly told me, I cannot support you any longer. You better, you can do what you want. You do music. As long as your music you can support yourself through your music. I have no problem. I don't want to say my son is a great doctor, great engineer. That's not the thing. I want you to be good at what you are and be self-sufficient at what you are, because that is the reality of life. You cannot keep depending on your parents, right? So you have to, that is the pressure that all of y'all are also facing, that you have to start earning your own money, you have to start becoming independent. And that's the reality. So for me, the big quandary was, do I choose music as a profession, or is music going to remain my passion, right? And I will be sensible and choose a profession that will bring the money home every month, right? So what happened was, again, luck played a great role. My lecturers had seen me, performing. They knew I wrote well, etc., etc. So one day when I finished college, before I got my results, my history lecturer came to me and said, "Hey, one of my friends owns an advertising agency, right? And he's looking for young, bright talent. You seem the correct kind of guy with, advertising is a very creative field, and with your, music, theater, writing abilities, etc., you seem to be a good fit. So why don't you go and meet him?" So I just went and met him. He was impressed with me and he gave me a job before I got my results. So, so before I finished college, actually, I had a guarantee of a job. Yeah, it was like a reverse campus placement. Yes. Yeah. So I was thrilled because, the music I was playing, especially and I was more in the jazz and, fusion kind of space. There was no market for that, right? And I had seen so many senior musicians, with that really vacant look in their eyes, playing in five-star hotels. They look broken after 30 years, 40 years, just playing in some corner in some five-star hotel or something like, nobody's heard listening to them, but they're forced to because they have to make money out of music, right? So for me, I got this job and it was a creative job. I was writing, I had to think of jingles which had to do with music, etc., etc. I said, man, this is amazing. I mean, it's a job that I love also, right? So, anyway, to cut a long story short, I moved to Mumbai, then I grew in the advertising space. I was National Creative Director of DDB Mudra. But through that, I kept my musical career going. And this is why I call it the two-in-one life. And this is the message I wanted to give to youngsters, that very often you think it's either or, right? You think, I've got this job, no, I can't pursue my passion. Who says? Who says? You just have to work harder, that's all. Nothing comes easy. So as creative director, I used to work from morning till night. I used to go for rehearsals with my band at 7:38. I used to rehearse till about 10:30, 11. If there was work unfinished, I used to go back to office, work till midnight, work till 2 a.m., get home, sleep for a few hours, and the whole process started again. So people ask me, how did you manage your advertising career, your musical career, and your family? So, as you know,
I have that question. Because I can't manage it. I'm working and I'm just like, I can't manage other things also.
Yeah, so I couldn't imagine letting go of music because of my work. And I was lucky being in the creative field, being a creative director. Music was always a part of my, work. One of the first films I ever made was a campaign I created for Mudra, was a campaign called Go Bonkers for quality ice cream, right? So that was a tagline I came up with. And the whole idea was young teenagers basically going bonkers over quality ice cream, right? And that the go bonkers as a phrase was actually introduced by me in college campuses. It became such a famous campaign of the time that the first thing we did was, actually, again, music came in, where I went to a studio and I met a gentleman called Leslie Lewis, who till today is my great friend. And Leslie created this campaign called "Go Bonkers, Go Bonkers." Oh yeah, you know. So he created this beautiful jingle, awesome jingle, and it became a big hit. So you should actually, I will send you a
I will
clipping of
Google
that.
this after.
Yeah. You can, if it's still there. Otherwise, I'll find it in my archives and send it to you.
Definitely.
So so music, branding, advertising, creativity, all of that sort of was my work. But my artistic side was outside of work, where I played with, with Shankar Ehsan. I played with Shankar Ehsan. I played with Louis Banks. I played with Fazal Qureshi, Tawfiq Qureshi. All these guys. I mean, we all good friends. We hung out together. But one thing did happen, that as I grew more and more in advertising, and what they call the golden handcuff, where the monthly income now starts getting bigger and bigger, and you can't think of a life without that, because of all the perks that come along with
To give
to
all
give
that
all that
up
for
for
music was at one stage very difficult.
Okay, so did you ever struggle with boundaries that we have in our societies with gender roles or anything like that? Do you ever feel you had to probably compromise on something and
No, definitely during my advertising career, my music was compromised. There's no doubt. Because if I had taken up music full time, even with the limited time I could give music in my advertising career, I was already, playing with guys like, Shankar, etc., etc. But to sustain that, and you see where Shankar has reached today, right? That's because of the natural growth and passion and development and learning that he has put into one field,
yes,
right? So sustain that. As you grow higher, you have to, in any field, you have to spend more and more time improving yourself. You have to spend more and more time on the finer details, because very often the difference between good and great is
it's a fine
it's
line.
only this. Yes, it's only this much. If I had taken music full time as a career, there would have been other pressures to earn money through that music. And I was very clear that I only wanted to stay in the non-commercial space, in the space of my own compositions, my own artistry, maintain my own artistic purity. For example, not many people know, but I actually composed music for an entire Bollywood film.
Tell me.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm like, I want to listen.
Yeah, so I worked along with Merlin D'Souza, who is she's a very talented pianist and composer, arranger, etc. So both of us, we actually created music for Bus Yui, right? The Bollywood film. Now you can check that out also. Bus Yui is available, and the title song Bus Yui, Bus Yui. It was a few years before Dil Chahta Hai,
Oh.
right? But it was that kind of vibe of a younger
Yes.
generation. And the thing is, the film wasn't a box office hit, so therefore the music never really got heard. It's only when a film becomes a hit that the
Yes.
music also gets heard, right? But if you listen to the music per se, it was a pretty cool album. I must say, it was like bringing in that whole area of a new sound for
Yes.
Bollywood, which Shankar Ehsan Loy actually cracked with Dil Chahta Hai.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
So, but a lot of people ask me, man, it was a great calling card. You already had an entire, movie that you
Yes.
made music for. Why couldn't you, approach and get more and more into Bollywood? But, somehow, and this is no reflection, there's no judgment, nothing on Bollywood. I think Bollywood is great. It's got amazing creativity, amazing talent. Bollywood music I'm talking of, and I guess my heart wasn't in it, right? So whatever the possibilities of fame, of suddenly becoming famous because of some Bollywood hit song, etc., that never really motivated me. What motivated me was to express my soul as a musician, right? And I could do that because I had a steady job in advertising. And I no longer had to depend on money for my music. And so my music I could just do. So I would play at jazz bars. I would play, with fusion bands. I would probably never, out in the mainstream that way. And then when I launched my album, when I actually quit and launched my album in 2013, I think it was like wow. It was like I said, 30 years in the making. It took me 30 years to make that album because it was a sum total of all my musical influences, all, you know, Western, Eastern, ragas, all of that coming together. So, yeah, look, there is a compromise in life. That's
Yes.
the thing is, how do you find a balance between compromise and happiness?
And also
That's,
our attitude towards it, right? I mean, we don't have to see compromise as a bad thing.
yeah,
Sometimes we,
no, exactly, exactly. So,
yes,
I've seen youngsters who are in that stage where they don't know what to do, right? So they are exploring.
yes,
They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing that, and then they say, "Oh, I wasted my time doing this. I wasted my time doing that. I haven't discovered this. If I had only found my passion or purpose or direction earlier, then all those things that I did wouldn't. It was a waste of time. It's not a waste of time because everything that you do will have some impact and bearing on your life, right? The thing is to keep or store all those memories, store those learnings.
like to be honest, like you said, with your personal journey, you've been in theater, music, and all of that elements have helped you with your advertising career, and advertising has I think somewhere helped you with your music industry also.
Yes,
Music
yes.
also.
You know, that is actually the essence of creativity, right?
Yes.
When two different fields come together, they create a third kind of
Yes.
impression or expression. So therefore, it's always important to be, especially in this world, in your world today, right? You have to be multidimensional. To be multidimensional, you have to be open. You have to be
Yes.
open-minded. You have to be open to exploration. You cannot be dogmatic, and say
Yes.
no. But to
You
your
have to be
point,
jack of all trades.
you have to be. But the thing is, there should be one focal point, right? That you're moving towards something, and all these various things are helping you move towards that one thing. Now that's very important because otherwise you can be truly jack of all trades and master of none. No, here the challenge is you have to be jack of all trades and master of one. Still, right?
Okay.
So that's how you get differentiated.
Okay, I have one question. Um, did you ever feel that? I mean, I feel this is something that youngsters feel is our dreams are very are only accessible for a limited period of time. Like I feel like all of us struggle with oh, we have to achieve this by this age, or at least early in our 30s or early 30s at least. But I think as we grow old, we realize that dreams don't really come with a age limit and lifeline. Oh, it's gonna get over. So, what do you think about that? And how can what would you tell youngsters at this point who are running in a rat race to just figure out what they want because they're scared they're gonna be left alone?
Yeah, no, I can totally empathize with that because I've seen youngsters, especially in this very competitive world, right? And there is always the feeling that by 30 I must settle down. Right? If
So
not
the
earlier.
pressure we put.
if not earlier. And that's where the pressure really starts. Right? So I would actually say, it's easier said than done, but chill a bit, right?
The magic mantra.
Yeah, enjoy the journey, right? And don't think so much of the destination. Enjoy the journey. Each one of you have something unique within you. And as I said, some people discover it earlier, some people it takes longer. But the main thing is, I do yoga a lot, right? I discovered yoga like 17, 20 years ago. And people say, oh, are you flexible? So I said, look, that's not the purpose of yoga. That's not the deeper purpose of yoga. It's not flexibility. What it is wellness, right? And one of the things I discovered after doing yoga for a few years is that you enter a state of mind that allows you to live in the present without regret of the past nor an anxiety of the future. Okay? Now, this is what youngsters also, again, it's because it's at your age, need little maturity for this kind of thing to actually happen.
But
So
it's
it might be a
necessary to
good
hear
idea,
it.
sometimes I have found that talking to somebody who can open your mind, right? So who can help you discuss or define your strengths, your passion, and then link that to a possible career. When you're feeling confused, when you're feeling, is very important because it's a process, it's a journey. You cannot sidestep it. It has to happen. But one day that eureka moment will happen. The journey took 50 years for me. It's a very interesting phrase. How do you monetize your passion? Because to monetize something, you have to be passionate and you have to be proficient. You have to be good at it. So once you identify that, then you start thinking of, oh, okay, then actually I'm damn good at this. I'm also damn good at this. And now let me see how I can start thinking of how to put a career together around this. And so for me, that was the conflict. So somewhere, again, two fields which seemingly are not connected. The fields of brands, because I had worked for 25, 30 years with brands and dealing with their innermost analysis of brands and how to position a brand so that you can advertise it. All of this was happening. And I never left music. Music was always there. So these two came together, and therefore we saw this huge opportunity in the area to create the sonic identity of a brand, right? Now, to very simply explain this, every brand has a visual identity, right? So a brand will have a certain set of colors, it will have a certain font, the way its logo is written, etc., and that will be consistently followed. So we saw an opportunity to use the same rigor with music and sound for brands and start creating sonic identity. So there's a brand analysis where we try and understand what a brand is, like a human being, and then we equate that using the science of sound to. So I can give you a small demonstration. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play something. I want you to close your eyes and just go where the music takes you. You'll probably see some imagery, you may feel some emotions, it may trigger some memories, and then we can come back and have a chat about what you saw and felt. Yeah? Okay. So here goes. Okay, you can open your eyes. You want to tell me, did you see
So,
any imagery?
okay.
Yeah, what did you feel? Just describe it. Yeah.
So to start with, I actually had a image of a temple, like those South
Yeah.
Indian temples early in the morning with
That's
the music now. That and gradually, I felt like there was a conversation happening between two people or two. I'm not able to like express it, but there was a conversation and a lot of greenery and. The conversation also had this feel of prestige with a
okay. Wow. Okay.
so
Nice.
so we
Yeah. Look at the richness of imagery just from a piece of music, right?
yes
So this is really what we are exploring at Brand Music, which is how does music touch or create human emotions and moods, right? So now, wherever in the world I've played this piece of music, everybody has seen green. There's greenery. People have seen greenery. This is a composition of mine called Peace, Peace, right? Now, people have seen green, people have seen mountains, water bodies, rivers, and very happy kind of feeling, very peaceful.
yes
Okay. Now, the reason everybody's feeling like this is not by accident, it's by design. Okay. Uh, you saw temples, you saw South India. Now, can you believe it? This South Indian rag, okay, uh, called Hamsadvani, which became very famous in South Indian Carnatic music, classical music, and it gets its particular character because it uses only 5 notes in the scale, right? So we know that there is a science to sound. So we have actually scientifically mapped all of this, and therefore we know which combination, which scale can create what kind of mood, and we then link it to the personality of a brand. So is the brand a happy kind of brand? Okay. Is the brand an adventure brand where it wants to bring in thrill and excitement, and then what kind of scale would actually convey that? So that's really how we arrive at creating the sonic identity for a brand, which expresses what the brand stands for, the brand's emotion, the brand feeling that the brand wants to create. Is it a feeling of caring you want to create? Is it a feeling of fun you want to create, etc.? And we are able to then create music, and with that we have something we call the MOGO, or short form for musical logo, right? That's a term that we've registered and trademarked, and it's becoming quite a buzzword now. We're getting calls saying, "Hey, we want a MOGO for our brand." So yeah, so that's the journey of Brand Music. Today we're 10 years old. 10 years, I now live, breathe, think, eat music 24/7. Whether it's my work at Brand Music, or whether it's playing with my band, or whether it's composing, all the time it's all about music. It's not work for me, and I'm earning my enough to
yes
sustain myself, and that's great. It's like the coming to, like you were saying, where
coming together in the end
work and passion meet, sort of.
yes the horizon
Yeah.
okay so you've had a very it's a very eventful life. I mean, I don't think in this session we can even describe even 10% of it. So, उसपे तो मैं जा नहीं रही. But I genuinely have this question. Was there any part of any time where you were at your lowest? And, how did you come out of it? Because I feel like a lot of us, the lows are always different for everyone, but it's something that it's very difficult to find our way back and we often feel very alone and it's difficult to even talk to people sometimes. So
Yeah,
I would love to know about your journey in that.
absolutely. Actually, when you come out of it and when you look back, you will realize that this low feeling, was a lot of it is created by an anxiety or where you cannot see your path. You don't know where you're going. It's and then you start digging yourself deeper and deeper into the quicksand. Right?
Yes.
As they say, the more you think, the more you sink. Right?
Overthinkers.
Yeah. So that's what tends to happen, and it has happened twice in my life. Once at around the age of 23, 24, 25, when I was in the transition. Again, that was the transition, you know, uh, where I was yearning for music. I hadn't fully found my feet in advertising yet. I had quit one advertising job because I wasn't, uh, I didn't like the workplace.
Yes.
So I was out of a job, and I had music going. There was no income. Then I was back to staying with my folks, and it was like it was a 1 year, very dark year in my life. But one, I think things that helped me was keeping myself occupied with a friend circle, uh, where I was acting in a play, I was continuing to perform with my music, etc. And today I empathize so much with youngsters, especially because of these times that we are in, right? It's so difficult for youngsters because this is the age where all of y'all are discovering yourselves, you're discovering your friends. A large part of your identity is formed by your interaction with your friends, and how they treat you and how they don't, all of that. So being cooped up and not having that sort of outlet is really difficult, and that coupled with the stage of life that you're in, which anyway is difficult, right? So yeah, that was. But I think one thing that kept me going in retrospect was busy, 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 busy. Keep yourself busy. Whatever it is you're doing, force yourself to be busy. I know there are some days you won't want to get out of bed. Yes, I mean that's happened to all of us, right? There's some days you don't want to talk to it, but keep yourself busy, because the old saying is true: idle mind is a devil's workshop. Right.
Yes.
That's one. The second is, just remember one thing: it's always darkest before the dawn.
You will
And one day
enter the light.
you will come into the light, and enter the light, there will be no looking back, because you have traveled the journey from darkness into light, right?
Yes.
So I think these things kept me going, and truly during that stage of that young stage, around the age that you are, when I came out, it was awesome. It was like, wow, sunshine and birds chirping and that kind of thing. I mean, like a movie
Yes.
where you run out and this green field and the sun is shining. Literally, it was like that. And so I think that the only advice I can give is hang in there, and don't be afraid to reach out if you're finding, and it's not just you, anybody in your age group, finding, there are a lot of questions in your mind, etc. The whole idea is to believe in yourself. Don't there's a lot of self negativity that you can bring
Yes.
upon yourself. Don't dwell too much on that. Everybody's beautiful. Learn to love yourself a little. Look, there are enough people to tell you about your faults. You can't be telling yourself about your faults,
So true.
right? Yeah. I mean, you got to accept all the good things that you have, all the good attitude, the good skill sets, and operate from that. Why would anybody operate from their weakness and from their faults? Your faults are there. Be aware enough to understand that these are your faults. Don't operate from your faults. Don't give in to. It's sometimes easier to operate from the darker side.
Yes.
But don't
True.
operate from the from love, from generosity, from gratitude. And once you start operating from there, then you will find that life becomes easier because you're not, you're not castigating yourself so much.
Yes.
You're saying, hey, I'm cool, man. I'm nice. This is the way I am. Take it or leave it. I've told myself that. So I'm not so bad, right? So that was one phase when I was around this age of 50, 48 to 50, before I took this decision for Brandmusiq. Those were two difficult years, though it was a very good part of my career. But I think 3 years before that, 2, 3 years before that was a moment where I still remember sitting with a friend on bandstand and saying, man, I don't know what to do, what I'm doing with my life. Right? So that was another point. But again, I think the same principles held true.
But also be,
Yes.
I'm asking, but also be like, while keeping ourselves busy is important, being aware of our emotions is also important, right?
Of course. Yes. Of
Like,
course.
we should keep ourselves busy so that we don't think about certain things because they just push us more into the darkness. But I like, but we
Yeah.
have to think. We need to be alert of the emotions that we are actually feeling, so that we are aware. We're not delusional sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the important thing to realize, see, the thing is, since it is so personal, one tends to think that, hey, I'm the only guy going through this.
I know.
There's something wrong with me. No, everybody is going through it. Everybody is going through it or will go through it. That is life. Everyone at some point of his or her life will go through this period. Now, look at it positively. You're going through it while you're still young, while you have the energy to, battle it,
Yes.
the energy to come out of it.
Did you ever feel the fear of not fitting in, being, in this whole journey? Because you've started the whole musical logo, the Brandmusiq. The idea was something which is not heard of before. Was very new. So, did you dwell with self doubt and the internal struggle of setting up a business and knowing if like fear of what if it doesn't turn out the way it's there? We hoped for it to be.
Yeah, so, when I was quitting and setting up Brandmusiq, I had a friend and colleague called Bobby Pawar. So he was like my boss actually, and he encouraged me a lot because he loved my music, and he said, "Man, take the plunge, go for it." So one day we were sitting and chatting. Then I was talking to him about my plans, and so he said, so I said, "Anyway, I'll give it a shot," is what I said.
Yes.
So he said, "Man, you don't give it a shot, you give it your life. Because there's no coming back. There's no plan B. The minute you think there's a plan B, you think, hey, it's okay, I don't have to give it my all.
Yes.
The minute you know there is no plan B, I have to make this work. And I'm pretty sure of the area. I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do. It's not as if I'm not interested in that space. Of course, I'm very interested. I'm passionate. So that was one. That there was absolutely no room for doubt or self-doubt to allow it to creep in itself. I did not allow myself to do, right? And yes, there were times in our journey initially when you're not getting business. It's a new concept, you're trying to sell it to clients are not really buying into it. Then you wonder whether anything's going to happen. But the thing is, the freedom I felt by stepping out of the corporate environment and a 9 to 5 kind of, not 9 to 5 ever, 9 to 9 kind of work
Yes.
life, that freedom was exhilarating. And I said, even if I earn 25% of what I was earning, that 75% is worth the happiness that I'm feeling. Right? It's a beautiful trade-off. So I've never been one to chase after money. Money has never been an objective in itself. Right? So therefore, you just got into the passion of it, and there were times when we were worried how to survive the next month, and then suddenly something comes in and saves you. You know. So they say when you're passionate and you want to do something, the universe conspires to make it happen, right,
Yes,
for you.
Shah Rukh Khan's
So
dialogue.
yeah, yeah. So that's really how it sort of happened.
True, actually. I personally feel that too. I also feel like there's always, whenever I'm overwhelmed with like the situation that I'm going through, I always leave it and I'm like, there's a plan. Like I probably don't know it, but God has a plan. And because
Exactly.
when I look back, I feel like everything has just fallen in place somehow. No matter how much I questioned it at that point, it has always fallen in place.
Absolutely.
As a parent, now, I mean, I think you are parent to everyone, including, I mean, not just your two daughters, you're a parent to their friends, everyone. So, as a parent, how do you try to help your kids so that they don't feel burdened by the society's expectations and labels and restrictions, all of that?
Yeah. No. So the I guess the looking at me as well as Mira, both of us we have very similar values in the sense that for us it's more about finding yourself and finding what you love, and then going wholeheartedly and being your toughest critic once you have the intellectual honesty to
Yes.
be able to judge yourself and say whether you are. So the competition should be yourself, right? Not others. That's what we've always believed in, and my life has also been like that. So I mean, I have a BA degree basically, and after that I did a 1 year mass communication, etc. But uh, it's not any professional degree, right? I didn't do an IIM, IIT, or
Yes.
anything like that. But I made my life through the arts, through creativity. So I think one of the things was to understand that you can make your life in any field. You don't have to be stuck to a field that will guarantee you success or things like that, right? So the kids, I think the only thing we have desired for them is to find their groove, whatever the field is, right? And that was the whole thing, because you'll know when the child is really suddenly got obsessed with something, interested in something. That should come from within, because you cannot force it. That's it. I think it's just about finding the groove, simple way. And the minute you start getting that, now all parents may not like this advice, but I believe that forcing your child into something that the child may or may not be inclined towards or not have the best skill sets for, you never know actually.
So now this one question I feel like you are the right person to ask is because
Okay.
so you have your your experience with music, advertising, and advertising especially is something where you have to bring out something out of the box. So I want to know
Yeah.
how important is it for people to actually stand out of the box?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And it's going to be even more important in the coming years. It's already upon us. So one of the workshops I have for corporates is why thinking out of the box is very important in this day and age. Right? So you look at all the big companies that have been formed in the past few years. What are they based on? Out of the box thinking. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. You look at all the what I call unicorns or the startups that have made it really big. It's all out of the box. So let's take Uber. Taxis have existed for 100 years.
Yes.
Technology has also existed, let's say, 20, 30 years. Somebody brought these two together. Now that is out of the box thinking. Where did that idea happen? Not in a factory.
Yes.
It happened inside the head. Facebook, similar. It just happened inside the head. Right? So the modern companies are all out of the box. And those people working in those companies have to think out of the box.
Yes, true. We have to
Google.
question. We have to question.
Yeah.
I
Google.
mean, even Newton.
Look at Google. Correct.
Yeah, Newton also. I mean, he questioned gravity and then hence
Yeah.
he got the three laws.
Exactly. So creativity is very important, which is why it is very important for youngsters, whatever field you are in, to be in touch with the creative arts. It's important because that creative arts, there's certain processes which force you to think out of the box. When you want to create a piece of music, you have to think out of the box, right? You have to think, you have to get more in touch with your imagination, with your emotions, and it's not just 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. So all of this, it's a very fascinating era, really.
I want to ask: is there any song or a piece that that comforts you? A piece that you feel gives inspiration, and you would like to share it with our listeners?
So let me see. There was a piece I used to play in my college days. It always reminds me of my early inroads into music, and I'm basically self-taught, so I've picked up by ear mostly.
Yes.
And there was this piece called Bure by originally by Bach, but there's this flute player called Ian Anderson. He's actually a singer and flute player of the band Jethro Tull, but he did this version called Bure. I'll play a little bit of it.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very, very pretty tune. So yeah.
Oh my god, I am blessed. I am blessed. That's it.